Good evening, everyone. I'm going to show you that I don't have a drinking problem, despite being an Exeter English student. But yeah, I'm just going to do a couple of poems tonight. So yeah, hope you enjoy them. I like to call them details of the abstract. This poem is called The Skipper. He had a certain presence about him. His silence said more than any poem could. His stillness more than any play. His modesty made him kingly. As he sat enthroned on his trademark tripod stool and sipped his pint of Cornish ambrosia, all I saw was trepidation and lament. As if his great weight had been taken off his feet and transferred to his mind. His face was more legible than a children's book, more ambiguous than a lover's complaint. It was as if his catalogue of wrinkles were each a page in his dusty, weathered autobiography, unread, or if not, misunderstood. The semblance of a smile he reluctantly sent me arrived broken and damaged, barely intact after years of being shot at by everyday executioners and their trigger-happy sadness. Each gap, vacated by its former enamel residents, were now the empty tombs of deceased smiles and the absent wombs of infant frowns. Even his thinning hair was tempestuous, greyer than the thickest rain cloud, more sporadic than the most punctual lightning bolt. It served him as well as his frayed old net, a tragic compound of knotted twine and greasy silver that made him half fish, half man. But most intriguing was his eyes, two priceless sapphires embedded in his unminable skull, two crucial witnesses to life's many atrocities, stained a milky blue with the ocean's flooding tears, accented a crimson red with the bloody vessels that navigated the yellowish white of his eye. Such an ornately beautiful blend of colour was made colourless by the blind stare he stoically held, one that amplified his artistry and intensified his melancholy. As I take off my aesthetic blindfold and unclip my prosthetic straitjacket, I find myself envious of his wrinkles, for he has more experience than I. I find myself jealous of his smile, for he knows what it is to cry. I find myself desirous of his baldness, for his wisdom leaves no room for why. I find myself covetous of his eyes, for his vision allows his blindness to die. He is not merely a man, for he stands apart. He is not simply a fisherman, catching all things his art. He is the skipper, and will anchor until he is forced to depart. The second one's only very short. It's called the Puppet Master. Have a drink.
Have two.
Good idea. Okay. So yeah, the Puppet Master. As the curtain rises, his wooden frame is unveiled. His painted smile that stretches from cheek to cheek feigns an eternal merriment that moves his audience, leaving him unmoved. At the tug of an unshakable hand, his body convulses with choreographed enthusiasm, limbs flying in animation, tiny hands waving excitedly to the unsuspecting expectations of the unrelenting crowd. Tugging, 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 waving, dancing, performing, his wooden frame more alive than a beating heart, deader than a half-empty coffin. His soul exercised with every cheer, his corpse exhumed with each round of applause. With each show his theatrical life slips further away until his painted smile fades like a shadow in darkness, until his varnished limbs wither like an aging rose, until his nylon tethers tangle around his neck and tighten, longing for the curtain to fall. Thank you very much.
All right, well, Jesus, again,